Good morning, everyone. Today's kind of it's a somber, it's a difficult day. Our nation is currently in a crisis. And this is a difficult morning. But we're going to talk about, since Jesus is still on the throne, He's still in control. We're going to talk about knowing God's perfect will for our life. Because we can know God's perfect will for our life. I didn't know that before. Paul's going to tell us here in Romans chapter 12, verse 1. Paul says, I appeal to you, therefore, brothers, by the mercies of God, to present your bodies as a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable to God, which is your spiritual worship. Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind, that by testing you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. So Paul starts this chapter off with, I beseech you, or I appeal to you. And this is quite a strong urging. I beseech you. I urge you. Therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God. So we can know the will of God, right? By being a living sacrifice, so serving, loving one another. It's our spiritual worship. And then being transformed by the renewing of our mind. So renewing our mind by the Word of God, not the things of the world, right? Because we don't want to follow the patterns of the world. So if we have things in our life that are patterns of the world, we want to not follow those. We see things that people do or the world does. We don't want to follow those patterns. So you have to break up those things in your life. Break those things out. So you're no longer following patterns of the world. And he says, but be transformed by the renewal of your mind. And then here it is, that by testing. So we are able to test and discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect. So we can know what is good, what is acceptable and perfect. How do we know that? By testing. How do we test? By being transformed by the renewing of our mind. And how do we do that? By being a living sacrifice, right? Holy and acceptable to God. And how do we do that? By listening. Paul urges us. He's urging us. I appeal to you, brothers, right? I beseech you, right? So my encouragement to you guys is to, be a living sacrifice. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Don't follow the patterns of the world. If you see something that's a pattern, don't follow that. And then you're able to test, right? And we're able to test what is good, acceptable, and perfect. So we can know the will of God. Don't we all want to know what the will of God is? I think everyone wants to know what the will of God is. But it takes a few things to put into practice. Be a living sacrifice, being transformed by the renewing of our mind, right? Not being conformed to the patterns of the world, right? So, alright guys, you have a good week. Be safe out there. Yeah, don't be conformed to the patterns of this world. Be transformed by the renewing of your mind so you can know the perfect, acceptable will of God. Alright, guys, you have a good week. Talk again.